Better picture, huh? Hi, it's Nancy from Needlefish Yarns. You haven't heard from me in a while because I've been busy, and I think I need to tell you why I've been so busy. But I'm also going to talk about a few other things, what I've been up to, what I've been working on, and why you haven't seen me for a while. So let's start. This is the bird catcher. I made it last fall, and it is with Emma's Super Silky Yarn. There's a cute little pattern on the bottom, which you can't see, and I'm not going to back up too far because you really can't see it too well, but it's a really cute, very simple top, about 3 skeins, no shaping, and it's actually bottom up, and then you separate and then you knit it. So, and I can't remember the name of the yarn, which is a really good reason why you should post your projects on Ravelry, because when you do that, you've got an electronic record of what you did, and you can put the yardage you used and the name of the yarn. It does come in handy for people like me. I've started to do it in the last few things I've made, but obviously I didn't do it on this one because I wasn't thinking. I've been making things, tearing things apart, because that's what I tend to do. And I'm going to tell you about a few of them and some of the recommendations I have. First of all, I'm working on, I just finished a little sweater, a baby sweater. I am working on the Moana dress for the granddaughter who I made a dress for and wouldn't wear it until it was too small on her. So I'm making her a size 5, but it's so small I really can't show you a picture of it. I'm also working on something very simple. It's a simple summer wrap by Laura Dobratz of 4 Pearls called the Noelani, and it's all garter stitch. So this is a good way to use up some yarn. It's this right here. And it's not a great picture, but I'm using a skein of slub, hi Karen, and a skein of mohair, all garter stitch. You could use a skein of just fingering weight, which I've got tons of, by the way, and I got a lot of mohair. Let me show you. Oh, I've got a real mess here too. I've been throwing things around, so all the yarn is now tangled. This is the Noelani, and it starts off with just like 2 rows of the slub or the fingering weight, and little by little, now I'm on 4 rows, and eventually get 6 rows and 8 rows. And you increase like every 4 rows, so it's not quite a rectangular wrap. It, goes out, but it's going to be great, especially for cooler summer nights when you just want something little to throw on, but nothing heavy. All garter stitch. And I'm starting to realize that I actually like mohair. I didn't think I would, because I thought it would itch me. It's not any itchier than anything else as far as my skin's concerned. Okay, so there's that. Sorry about all the entanglement. I also just finished, again, this is so me. I just finished the white horse, but I had to tear some of it out because I wasn't thinking. This is it. I'm blocking it right now. The detail work on this is so pretty. This is a DK weight, and it's going to look great. It's still wet, though. So what happened? You knit below the arm in reverse stockinette stitch. So in other words, if you want to make it easy in the round, you turn it inside out, just knit all the way around. Then you're going to turn it right back the other side out when you wear it, right? Well, I had to join another ball of yarn, not thinking I did the weave and Steven. So I ended up with this blob on the outside of my sweater. It was the inside, but you turn it outside, right? So I tried to undo it, and I ended up with a big hole. So I had to tear out 15 rows of ribbing and 42 rows of the regular sweater. Yeah, it's what I do. But now it's pretty, and I'm really happy with it. So I'm waiting for that to dry. I also did something very strange. I made a sock. I made this for my grandmother years ago. Size 2 needles. It is cotton, and I know that the gauge might be a little different, but still both are fingering weights. I made this one. Look at the difference. Same needle size, but this was cuffed down. I don't know if that's why it's looks like it's made for Andre the Giant, but it's huge and sloppy, and I just can't figure it out. So that's one of my challenges, which I'm going to work on. And then there's this, which will lead me to my next point too. I started working on this last fall, or this winter. It is called The Newspaper Pullover by Joji Locatelli. And if you can see, I'm on Sweater Island, or Sleeve Island, sorry. There's a reason for that. The more I knitted on it, and I don't know if it was the movement of me moving it in my lap, it started to pill. And I mean, you can really see the fuzz on it. Hi, Stephanie. You can see the fuzz on it a little bit. It was just pilling, and I just think it was from me rubbing against me as I knitted. So why? Well, I found out why. I started watching more podcasts when I had time, and I watched Andrea Mowry's podcast. It's called I'll Knit When I Want To. And she just fields questions from knitters. And somebody was talking about, hi Ann, pilling and felting. And I found out the answer. The softer the yarn is, the more tendency it will have to pill or felt. Well, why? Because when you have a very soft merino, it is a shorter staple. So when you twist it into the ply, those little short staples have a better tendency of popping out of that staple. That's where you get the pill. Everything eventually pills, but the softer the yarn, the more quickly it will pill. So there you go, it's a trade-off. I am anxious to try some other yarns besides merino though, like Corey Dale, Blueface Leicester, just to see how they all behave. The other podcasts that I wanted to tell you about, there's a couple of them. I've been watching three ply podcasts for a long time, and the Knitting Posse. They're three friends that get together. The Knitting Place is a store, so they have a podcast to sell their own yarn, but it's also very informative a lot of times. I sometimes watch that. But the new one I just discovered is called Knitting with Kim and Jonna, Jonna. Knitting with Kim and Jonna. They're just two friends that sort of discovered each other. One is really wild with purple hair, sometimes it's pink. The other one wrote math textbooks. I mean, you couldn't think of more opposite people. Yet they're really good friends and they're informative. They don't waste their time talking about things that don't pertain to knitting for the most part. That's why I like them. They've got great finished objects that meet my eye. They're sort of my age. You know, they would knit things that I would wear. And you learn things, and they will say, well, I saw this on this podcast about this technique. That's very informative and very helpful, I think. So those are some of the things I wanted to tell you about. Okay, so where have I been? Well, in Ohio, for sure. When I closed the shop in early December, it was a long, hard road, and that end was very hard. Not just mentally, but physically as well. I became ill the last 2 weeks of trying to close down the shop with vertigo and some infection I had, and it was just difficult. I'd been away from my husband for 2.5 months while he was up here, and I was living with my mom. I came to a house that we only had seen online, so I didn't even know what I was coming to. So the mental and physical strain, then coming up for Christmas and thinking about the holidays, that was a lot. And I will say I really enjoyed not working for a couple months. I thought about that a lot. But I felt that I didn't want to use the money that I had just made trying to close the shop. So I thought about working, threw my resume out there online in that intraweb, you know, and didn't expect to hear anything. Well, lo and behold, at the end of January, I got a phone call from a recruiter saying, hey, we have got this job that you would be perfect for. And I thought, great. And then I didn't hear anything for a month. And I thought, well, they probably changed their mind. Then as I was getting ready to go to a knitting retreat, I got this phone call and they said they want to interview you right away. The reason you didn't hear from us is because I, the recruiter, got COVID and then my daughter ended up in the hospital with it. So that's why I hadn't heard. I interviewed them, and 2 hours after my interview, they offered me the position. I am now the communications specialist for GE Aviation in Dayton. I already told them I wanted to knit jet covers for the jet engines for the 747, but they're not buying that right now, so I guess I have to do my real job. The only thing is I like what I do, but it's a full-time job. And not so sure I want to work full-time, but I will for a while. I'm a contractor for them, actually, so I will have that option down the road to see where my next adventure is. But I mentioned a knitting retreat a few minutes ago. I found that those were the kind of things I was really enjoying, was meeting other people that were knitting without the responsibility of having to try to convince somebody to buy my yarn. And I know there's so much yarn out there, I would like to be able to buy that as well without having to purchase it as a store owner. It's hard to have a shop, and I'm still online, but I don't know how much longer I want to be online. It's just a lot of responsibility, a lot of overhead, and I'm in a home, so I don't have a lot of space. I have not really invested in much more yarn except Emma's Color of the Month. I'm still getting that in the Super Silky. But take a look at my online shop because I'd like to sell my yarn. It's Super Silky, Practically Perfect, the Spectacular DK, the Silky DK, whose name escapes me at the moment. I've got Fig and Posy as well. I've got their Tweed DK and their linen blend and the fingering weight. I also have Emma's, I got a lot of mini skeins, and I have their goat cowl kit. So I would really like to get some of that off my shelves and see where my future takes me. I'm not really sure where I'm going. I just know that I do miss seeing everybody. I just don't think I want the responsibility of being a shop owner. It's a 7-day-a-week job. Even having an online store, I really should be posting 3, 4, 5 times a week and being out there. It's you either have to dedicate yourself completely to it or not. And I think that's a struggle. I know there's a lot of yarn stores that are struggling right now. So hope to hear from some of you. I miss all of you, and you'll hear from me again soon. But I do miss seeing you. So see you later.